Hello YouTubers, what we are going to do today is we are going to cut shrink plastic out and create bezels with them. So this is a little cutout part, so then we can fill it. We're going to fill it today with resin, UV resin with glitter in it. I love this because there is infinite amount of shapes you can cut and color to create any number of items here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what you need, then we are going to cut them out on my Silhouette Cameo. Then we will shrink them, glitter them, resin them, and make me a necklace. So let me go show you what you need. All right, so this has a bit of a long list of supplies. So there'll be a list of supplies and links down in the description below if you need them. But I'm gonna use this gold shrink plastic for this project. This package has 3 gold and 3 silver in it. It's the Graphics brand. I really like the gold because it feels like it looks like real jewelry. Like real gold when you shrink it all down and everything. So that's the gold. In this package also comes the silver. So that is our silver. You can also use the good old clear shrink plastic and then use the markers to color it. So that's what I did here. So this was clear, and then I used the Posca markers to color it the hot pink. I also did some in black. So that's black shrink plastic and then filled in. So any of those will work. And then you're gonna need to seal your shrink plastic. This is what I'm gonna use. If you do not, what happens is when you put the resin on, it will not stick. It'll just pop right off. So you have to seal it with something. This is what I'm gonna use. You can also use Mod Podge if you would like to, but any acrylic sealer should work. And then we are going to use UV resin. Take your favoriteest brand of UV resin that you have. I don't have one. And use it. So we're gonna need the UV resin tape. All right, so I found this set on Amazon. It's 28 chunky glitters. And I really like it for this because it's got big pieces and little pieces in the set. And it's got 28 colors, so pretty much anything you can think of, it's got in there. You can also use the fine glitter shakers as well. I also haven't used it yet, but you can mix pigments with your resin and fill in your bezels with that as well if you want to. So anything, so whatever it is you want to fill in your little spot with, you need. And then I've got these silicone makeup brushes that I always use, and my light. I have a light and a silicone mat as well for my resin. You're also going to need whatever jewelry findings you're going to need, jump rings, your chain, clasp, whatever. We're going to make a necklace today, probably with gold, so I'll have the gold jump rings. So whatever pieces and parts you need for your jewelry. All right, so this is our gold shrink plastic. And I don't know if I mentioned it when I was talking about supplies. I think this and the black and the silver are easier to cut than the clear. I think they're a little bit thinner. So I think they cut a little bit easier and pop out a little bit easier than the clear does. So we're gonna just stick it on our mat, and then the mat's getting a little old, so I like to use some good old painter's tape just as a little extra security so we don't mess up and have it go flying. Alright, so we are in Silhouette Studio, and this is what we're going to cut today out. It's just a bunch of circles. I have my heart set on like a circle-y necklace here. Now, you can make any shapes you want to. You are going to want to keep them fatter and blobbier. That's going to be the easiest thing for the shrink plastic to retain its shape and to get cut out. So, the circles I just made in Silhouette Studio. Remember, you can hold this shift key and make them perfectly circle, or you can just let them be ovally. And then I just went and drew another one here. So we're gonna go over here and change the color inside. And then you honestly could leave it like this because it will just cut both of them out. If you want to see what it's gonna look like, you can click both of them and right click and make compound path, and it will cut it out for you. You can also, I call this the donut. If you want to use that as a a hook up at the top, and then you can just weld these guys together, and then that will make a built-in like hook for the top if you want to do it that way. I'm just going to use a hole punch to do that, so I'm not going to include the little tops here. This is flexi shapes. You can use a lot of these, they're really great. I use the flower in here on the gold flower. You can pull them in, and then you can change the number of petals. And then I just put a circle in this to act as our little bezel for our inside glitter here. Now, I would recommend staying away from things like this, where all the pokey parts, it's just going to be annoying. Also, do not try to cut out a snowflake that has like 800 little pokey parts either. It's not going to be fun. So, make whatever shape you want to. If you change your mind on this, you can right click and release compound path, and then you can move him around again and make compound path again. You can also Control Z or the undo button if you do something and you don't like it. So I just crammed as many little circles on here as I could. Alright, so we're going to go over to the sun panel. We have a shrink plastic setting in the list, and you can pick it. Cut, and then any of the blades will work. The manual blade, which is the black ratchet blade, or the 1mm blade, or the auto blades will work. And then make sure everything is turned on. We're going to select everything and it's going to cut. Now, the shrink plastic, we can't cut all the way through the shrink plastic. What we can do is we can score it, and then we can pop it out of our shrink plastic using our Cameo. So understand that. Also, this is tough for a blade to do. So please don't pick your favoriteest blade ever and use it. It's not the nicest thing to cut out on a blade. So keep that in mind too when you're picking your blade. So we're going to use a force of 33. Force of 33. I've moved the blade up to 10, and then I do 4 passes. Now, if it is a detailed shape, I like to slow the machine down. If it's an easy shape like our circles, we can speed the machine up. So I'm going to do a set of 5. And then we will put our shrink plastic in and let the machine cut away. Alrighty, took about 10 minutes for our machine to cut that out. Alright, so what I like to do is cut them into smaller pieces. So then we're going to cut all the way up to where the machine cut for us, and then it'll just pop right out for you. Now, the shrink plastic doesn't want to tear, so keep that in mind. And that's why I said be careful of the design you pick, because if there's any pokey parts, it's going to want to tear on you. Now, if it does tear, honestly, you can shrink it down. I would shrink it down and see how it looks, because it may be okay unless you, like, you know, cut off a limb or something. Now, one thing I didn't want to show you was, so this was a star that I did. And see the chunky outline. Our crescent has got a fairly chunky outline. I did this tree, and you can see it's got a much skinnier outline, and it really struggled, as you can see. So this needs to be a little bit chunkier of an outline, or else you're just going to end up with a very artistic tree. So keep that in mind when you're picking out your shapes. And I'm going to continue cutting out our circles here. Then we are going to go put them in the toaster. I have a toaster oven down here. It's used for sublimation, but you can use it. You can use your home oven. You can also use the little heat gun if you want to do them individually. But we're in the polar vortex, so it is cold down here in the basement. So we're using a little toaster oven today. I'm keeping my little bits inside too. I think we might use them in my necklace. Also, I'm a big fan of keeping all of your scraps. That way you can test out different colors and markers and see what they look like, all those things. So keep your scraps. All right, so those are all cut out. I'm gonna take, this is a crocodile. It's from We Are Memory Keepers. And I'm gonna put my holes in it this way. Now, you can use a good old hole punch. This is just really easy to use. Ooh. Now, if you don't put holes in them or you forget, you will need a Dremel tool in order to get a hole in it once it's shrunk down. You won't be able to put them in there anymore. And then they're going on, this is a piece of cardboard covered in parchment paper, and this is what I'm going to put into my oven. So these are our circles, and we're going to put them into the oven. Now they're going to curl up, and when they start to lay back flat again, that's when we're going to want to take them out. I've got another piece of cardboard and the good old chemistry book, so I'll put the cardboard on top and then the chemistry book to make sure they're all flat. Alright, so those are all of our little circles. They've got shrunk down now, and what I've got them on now is a craft piece of paper, and then this is blue painter's tape. So this is the sticky side up, and then I've got it taped down so that we can hold all of our little pieces in place so that we can go spray them to seal them for UV resin. This is just to keep them from flying off while they're being sprayed. Any secure method will work. Also, you can use Mod Podge if you don't have a sealer of some kind. Also, note that some of these aren't 100% circle-ish anymore. It's kind of going to be a given sometimes when you do shrink plastic that they're not all going to shrink perfectly the same. So if you have your heart set on something very, very specific, you need a bunch of them, I would do some tests and see if you cut them like horizontally or vertically and see which way gives you the best consistent results. If I had to do like 50 earrings that were all the same, I would totally find somebody with a laser and get them to cut them out of either acrylic or wood for me. I wouldn't not choose this because that's going to be really hard to get that many that are absolutely identical. This is the handmade process, so there's going to be a little variation in all of them. So keep that in mind. We're going to go seal these and then we're going to go put resin in them. Alright, so we're going to mix up our glitter. So this is our chunky glitter mix here. And we're using red. And then I like to add in some little small ones too. Some fine glitter. This has it in there, but it's much more big chunky pieces. So, and then we are just going to pour in our resin, and then we'll mix it together. And you're going to want, so like that's not enough resin, and like when I mix it together it's still going to kind of be dry. You want it mixed together enough that it's more liquidy. I kind of go by feel on this. And that's kind of what you're going to want, more liquidy. You can also add pigments to this if you want to as well. Keep in mind that UV resin needs light to cure. So you do need to allow light to penetrate through this. So don't put so much stuff in here is that the resin won't be able to cure. Alright, so this is what they look like when they're all sealed up. They're kind of shiny if you can kind of see them. But what I did is I took, this is our tape, our UV resin tape. So what I did is I took it and put its sticky side up and stuck my little cutouts on it. We're going to flip it over and rub real good on the back to make sure that we're all secure here. So there we go. And then I'm going to tape down my edges again just to make sure that my tape isn't moving all over my mat. My mat here is, this is a silicone mat, so the resin won't stick to it as well. Alright, so you have options here. You can do one coat, one thicker coat, and see how it is more translucent there. You can see through. Or you can do two thin coats. That's what this one is. And see how there's less see-throughness of that. So that is up to you. and what you want your finished product to look like. If you want see-through or not. So we're gonna do 2 thin coats, I think. So I like a more solid color here. And we're gonna do them and then we'll cure them. All right, so this is our resin. I've gone with a really thin brush here, makeup brush here, because it's kind of tricky to get your resin inside your little cutout here. I also have a paper towel at the ready. All right, so what I try to do is pick out the chunky glitter in my mix here to put in my opening here. So see, that's my thin coat, and see I've still got room to add more to it. So I am just going to repeat. And obviously try not to get any on your gold here. Also, you can sometimes push the glitter under if you're not really careful, so don't like push your glitter under. I also like to give it time to sit, because I feel like the chunky glitter switches to the front. Now whatever side you want facing out needs to go onto the tape. So see, this is my state of Georgia, and obviously I want this side facing out, but I put it down on my tape. This was on the tape was down here and this was on the top, and you can see this has got some bubbles to it and it doesn't look the prettiest. This side that was on my tape looks far prettier, but it's obviously backwards. So whatever side you want facing out, that is the side that goes on the tape, and you work from this side backwards. Also, make sure you watch for air bubbles. But as I was saying before that, you can, if you're not careful, you can accidentally push your glitter underneath your design here. So be careful and don't like start pushing it too close to your edge over here. Also, all the good safety stuff with your resin. If it bothers you, please wear PPE gear. These two that don't, these were cutouts from my circle here. We are gonna just do UV resin on the top of them to give them kind of a sealed in look. So I'm just gonna dop and spread around. So that way they're sealed on up. And it'll match the rest of the necklace. We do have some little air bubbles. I don't know if you can see. So you can hit them with some light real quick or some flame real quick, and it'll help get rid of any. But they do seem to, when you do that, it does seem to move it away from the edge. So go back in and squish your resin back out to the edge. I don't know if it's the flame or the fact it is cold in the basement. You probably hear the space heater behind me. It is cold. We're gonna cure our resin. Follow your bottle instructions. Mine is 2 to 4 minutes, so I normally go somewhere in the middle of that. This is the Resin Rocker's really cool UV lamp. It's really nice. It's battery operated, which is really nice in the basement because I don't have that many outlets. And it's you can change how long and you can change how much wattage. It is really nice to have. It is not cheap and you do not need to have it. It's a nice investment if you're going to resin a lot, but it is not necessary. You can totally do this with a $30 UV lamp from Amazon. That's what I have, the little white one you've seen in the videos. This is nice, but not necessary. All right, so we've done our curing on one side. So I'm going to flip it over and we are going to cure on this side for another 2 minutes. All right, so we got them cured. We cured them on this side. We flipped them, cured them on the other side. Now I'm just going to go in with another thin coat and bring my glitter up to the top of my little shrink plastic ring here. All right, so we have our second coat on, and then I flipped these guys over and just put their solid coat on. So we're going to cure this side, we'll flip it and cure the other side, and then we're going to put a layer of resin over the whole thing. All right, so we have our 2 thin layers of resin in here, and they are cured. They're not sticky or anything like that. Then we're gonna put a thin layer of resin on top of it to seal it and give it a finished look. I'm gonna do both sides, but you don't have to if it's something that's not gonna be viewed from the other side. But it really does help give it a finished look. Also, this has to be cured. If you put more resin on top of a sticky, not cured resin, you're just gonna have a sticky mess that eventually falls off. So thin layer on this side, we're gonna cure, then we're gonna flip it and do the other side. Welcome to the chaos that is making one of these YouTube videos. So what I've been doing is buying these chains. I think this one came from Walmart, but you use however much chain you want to, and then they give you a clasp. And so I do that and then buy the matching jump rings. And so that way you can just attach them to what you want. I kind of call this the cheating way of making a necklace because it's not stringing them all up, but it's much easier. I'm not a jewelry maker. So you can chain them all up, make them, move them. You can undo them, redo them. You can reuse the chain if you decide you hate this necklace down the line or want to redo it. Like, it's just a lot more convenient for me. So what you're supposed to do is use the little rings here, but I always end up using my fingers, and then my fingers hate me for this. So just make sure you open up your little jump ring here. And the big thing to note is when you put them back together, just slide them. Don't pull them apart. That's the big thing to know, is just to slide them. And then we're just gonna put it on right here at the end. I ended up going with an antique gold finish for this necklace because the bright gold just seemed really bright next to the shrink plastic. See the bright gold next to the shrink plastic. This doesn't match as much as I would like it to, but it is gonna be good enough. And I adore that you could do this for any number of colors and kinds and shapes and whatever it is you want. So I just picked up my chain I wanted it on, and then we're just gonna slide them back together again. And there we go. So you have a one-of-a-kind necklace that you have made. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. If you'd like to see more shrink plastic videos, let me know down in the comments. If you have any brilliant suggestions for different kinds of shapes, I'm all ears. I think we're gonna ask that on a couple different platforms. I'm hoping other people have kind of some ideas for these. I was kind of struggling with different ideas for this other than circles and hearts. So please like and subscribe and all that stuff to this video. Thank you so much for watching.